If you were getting bored, would you give yourself shocks just to be entertained?
No, why would I?
Okay, let me make it more precise.
Okay.
If you were told to spend 15 minutes in a room with no books, no internet, no devices, no music, nothing, just you have to sit and think. And at that time, you had available to you a device that could give you electric shocks, which are known to be painful. Would you do it?
15 minutes? No, I would spend 15 minutes sitting.
There is research which shows that 67% of men and 25% of women choose to give themselves shocks, electric shocks, rather than sit for 15 minutes. Many of them give up after 6 minutes.
What? Why would they do that to themselves?
Because people hate getting bored. They hate it so much.
I mean, okay, young kids these days get bored very easily. We know that for a fact.
Not true, right? They looked and they found that there is no correlation with age.
Really?
There is no correlation with income either.
What was it? Was it because they were in an unfamiliar place, a new place, and they were not sure what to do?
Well, the researchers thought of that also. They redid the experiment at home instead of a lab setting, and the people were worse.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. But in a sense, it is good, no? As in, we don't want to be bored because boredom leads to lethargy, and lethargy is not necessarily a good thing for us.
Yeah, well, actually, there are many other negatives to boredom, serious negatives, right?
There you go.
So, research, for example, shows that boredom affects your ability to get things done, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing work and you find it boring, research shows that the quality of the work gets much worse.
Yep.
If you find it boring, research also shows that your cognitive abilities go down.
True.
Okay. Another thing with boredom is that it increases risky behavior. If you get bored easily, it increases the chances that you will gamble, you will get addicted, you will get into binge eating, online shopping, and just excessive social media usage, right? All of those are obviously pretty bad for you and your life.
Yeah, this makes me wonder why boredom even exists as a thing in human life.
Yeah. So I can answer that using evolution, right?
I should have known this was coming, very honestly.
Yeah.
So how does evolution explain boredom?
Yeah. Well, boredom is a signal to your brain. Okay. One thing is that it basically says that whatever you are doing right now is not using up your brain, and that something else can happen, right?
Yeah.
So one thing that does happen as part of this is that your brain can disengage and it can start doing maintenance jobs inside your head. Okay.
Yeah.
So this involves organizing your recent thoughts and your memories and so on. And that is the kind of thing that leads to new connections, creative thinking, and so on. There is research showing that.
Okay.
Second is that if you're doing something repetitive and you keep getting bored, then your brain, which is getting bored and irritated by this, will try to find ways to not do this or to do it in a different way, to automate it. Basically, innovation comes out of boredom.
Isn't that the opposite of boredom? Because you're now working to stave off the boredom.
Yes, and the results of that are very good. But let us understand why we are talking about this today.
Okay.
Right? Because today, when you get bored, that is not what happens. Today, within seconds, we pick up a phone and we start browsing reels.
Yes.
Which means that we never actually get bored, and which means that all those nice things that I talked about, which your brain does to stave off the boredom, those never happen.
Correct.
Okay. And that is what we are losing out on.
Aha. So we, in the pursuit of instant gratification, aren't giving our brain enough space and time to develop creativity.
Yes, absolutely. There is research showing that if you are bored and then you are given a creative task immediately after that, you do a much better job than if you were not bored, right? So boredom does lead to creativity, proven, right? Another possibility, not proven, but probably true, is that people who get bored quickly, but who are also ambitious, right, are likely to achieve more in their life, because what they end up doing is that they're constantly looking for something to do, right? So they are like the more of the doers rather than just sitting around doing nothing.
sitting around watching reels, and watching reels is doing nothing. I wonder if animals also get bored.
Oh, there is research on that also, and the answer is yes. Animals also get bored.
It was a random question, and he actually went and found an answer to that.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Boredom is good, but the thing is, in this day and age, even if
Yeah.
you're not watching reels, there is so much to do that you don't have time to get bored.
Yeah. You know, there is this lovely Zen proverb which says you should sit in meditation for 20 minutes every day, unless you're too busy for that. In that case, you should sit for 1 hour every day.
What?
The point being that if you're so busy that you don't even have a little bit of downtime, that means you're very likely going to be stressed, right?
Yeah.
Your brain doesn't get any time to chill, and that is necessary for your brain. We already talked about how the brain uses that time to reorganize your thoughts, but also that downtime is needed to reduce your negative emotions like anger and grief, right? It will increase your clarity and your judgment. It'll give you a calm mind, it'll give you self-control, it'll give you a sense of peace, right?
See, but here's the thing, even when I decide to sit and be bored, my mind is still constantly racing with 1,000 things, questions, things to do, tasks and plans and projects.
Yeah. So, in fact, there are a lot of techniques which help you to slowly get into a point where that is not happening in your brain.
Okay.
Right? I mean, meditation is one, there's a lot of literature on that. Vipassana is another, something that can be tried. As in, just, you spend 10 days, and in the first couple of days, all these things running in your head settle down, they get tired, and then your final brain coming down starts, right? Lots of people have good experiences with that.
Okay, I agree that Vipassana will help me calm down all of these things running in my head, but what about the things running outside of my head? Kids, should we send kids to Vipassana?
No, you can't send kids to Vipassana, but you don't want to.
Okay.
You want kids to get bored. It is normal, natural, and healthy for them. Okay? On Twitter, Doc Bhushan, a child psychiatrist, points out that a lot of modern parents believe that it is their responsibility to keep their kids entertained at all times, and if the kid is saying I'm bored, they see it as a personal failure. That is not at all true. As a parent, your attitude should be, this is not my problem. Okay? The kids can figure out their own entertainment, or they can sit and get bored.
Okay, but finding their own entertainment usually means some device of some kind, like a TV or a tablet or a screen.
Absolutely not. Do not give them access to devices. Okay? Without devices, let them figure out their own entertainment, right? Pen and paper is okay, books is okay, just blocks is okay, empty boxes okay, anything. Okay? Let them get bored, and a bit more after that. Okay?
Okay.
Boredom is teaching them important skills.
Like what?
So first of all, when they get bored, they will find by themselves something to do. Okay? So they will do things that interest them, as opposed to being fed by the parents or by devices.
Okay.
Second is that it will teach them to manage their frustration, a very important skill later in life. Okay?
True.
Third is that they learn planning out of this whole exercise. The most fascinating thing is that even watching grass grow can become interesting after a while.
Watching grass grow?
Absolutely. I have seen a fascinating summer course in which the teacher took the kids outside, made them sit in front of a tree, and said, okay, just watch. And obviously the kids were bored, and the teacher said, nothing doing, keep watching. 5 minutes, kids are complaining, and she's like, stop complaining, just watch. By the 10th or 12th minute, suddenly the kids started noticing things in the tree. And like, oh my God, look at that. Did you see what happened? And they noticed squirrels. They saw a hummingbird come in. And after 15 minutes, it had become one of the most interesting things they have done in a while. Okay. So yeah, it's just that, some things are slow. You have to get bored to notice them.
Very interesting. In fact, this seems like the kids' version of Vipassana, allowing them to get bored and then allowing that boredom to let them discover new things.
Yeah. And everything I said about kids, apply them to yourself. Because as Blaise Pascal pointed out, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone.
Technically, all of humanity's solutions also come because of man's inability to sit in a room quiet and alone.
None of those solutions would have occurred if that man was given Instagram reels to scroll. Okay.
That is true. That is true. So the next time I find myself being bored and reaching for my phone to scroll reels,
Yeah.
what should I be doing instead?
The bunch of little techniques you can do. Okay. Simplest is that you can try to find a way to learn something new while you're doing it, right? If like you have to cook every day, that is boring. But if you convert it into, well, I will learn a new cuisine on a regular basis, it becomes less boring, right?
Okay.
You are forced to do data entry. Try to find a way to learn programming to do the data entry and automate it, right? Commute, your commute is boring. Switch to audiobooks. I have seen people whose commute became much more interesting and they look forward to their commute when they switch to audiobooks instead of listening to bad radio, right?
Not all radio is bad, but I do agree with some of that statement,
Yeah,
not
and then there
100%.
are other things also, which is sometimes what you find boring is simply a matter of how you perceive that thing, right? If you analyze it carefully and why am I doing this and what is the positive that I'm going to get out of this, then it can become less boring.
So I guess the crux of the whole thing is that you have to give yourself time to get bored. And reaching for that phone to scroll those Instagram reels is not giving yourself time to get bored.
More accurately, you have to learn to get bored correctly, right?
Okay.
And to take the title of a book by Sylvia Boorstein, a meditation teacher, don't just do something, sit there.
Okay, that's really funny because what usually is heard is don't just sit there, do something. No, don't just do something, sit there,
Get bored.
get bored. More importantly, because it is around summer vacation, let your kids get bored and then see their creativity flourish.
More importantly, allow them 15 minutes to watch FutureIQ and then get bored, okay?
Shrikant, Naveen, Future IQ.